Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Today on the channel, we are going to be taking a look at the Trag'Oul avatar armor set for the Necromancer class. I'm going to warn you ahead of time, this is a F-tier armor, not going to take you very far. Here are what the skills are. 2-piece bonus, Blood Rush gets every ruin, which is not too helpful of an ability anyway. 4 set piece bonus is anytime you're at full life, you're healing both skills added to your maximum life for 45 seconds, so you get to heal more. 6-piece bonus, life spending abilities deal 38,000% more damage, and your healing abilities give you 100%. So basically, the way this armor operates is, in order to do a lot of damage with the armor, you have to use abilities that spend your health. Now, spending your health will put you in big disadvantages, especially with the Necromancer class, which is naturally squishy. To help with the set, we're going to be using the Jessup set so that we have command skeletons that will be able to help us heal. Haunted Visions is just there in case you want to use the Simulacrum version of the build. I don't necessarily recommend it, but it is a good thing to have. These are the abilities, so we're going to be using Land of the Dead, Devourer, Cannibalize, because this is going to be very important, because since we get more life from our life spending abilities, that's helpful. Blood Rush, we get all the runes, we don't have to worry about that. Bone Armor, Dislocation, just so we can get a little bit more armor. Skeletal Mage, Life Support, this is where most of our damage is going to be coming from. For our passives, we have Blood for Blood, since this is a blood build. Extended Servitude, because we're going to have a ton of mages on the field. Blood is Power, because again, this is all based on blood abilities, so. And Dark Reaping. In Urkanized Cube, we have Scythe of the Sickle, Tasker and Theo, and the Circle of Nudul's Evil. So this is how the armor set works. You're going to be spending life spending abilities to do a lot of damage. Anytime you heal with spending abilities, you will get your life back. But this is a very weak armor, F tier, so we're going to be doing greater of 45, 55, and 65 for demonstration purposes. Anything higher will probably take us closer to about 12 to 15 minutes to clear a Greater Rift, because this is not fully optimized. There is a Corpse Lance version of this build. I did not cover that one as of yet, because we just recently did Pestilence on the channel, which you could take a look at on our playlist. So maybe I'll do the Corpse Lance version in the future. So basically what you're going to want to do is cast your Land of the Dead. Right from there, then you're going to be casting your Blood Mages, using your Cannibalize to get back your Essence and to get back your life. Then you're going to use the Command Skeletons to take out targets randomly and sporadically. They will heal you as well based on our ability that we have set up. And pretty much that's the strategy that you're going to do. Whenever your Land of the Dead is on cooldown, you will use the Command Skeletons in conjunction with your Skeletal Mages to do a lot of damage. Then you will use your Devour Cannibalize to get back all your Essence, and then it's pretty much a rinse, recycle, repeat every once in a while. If you find yourself in a bad situation, do use your Blood Rush to distance yourself from the enemy. Keep in mind, you cannot get too hyper-aggressive with this armor set, because you are spending your life constantly to be able to do damage to the enemies. So the closer you are as you're spending life, the more vulnerable you are. And since I mentioned before, Necromancers are a naturally squishy class. Now, you could, in theory, if you wanted to, put a Flawless Amuset gem in your helm to give you a little bit more defense. That is very viable. That's probably one of the routes you would like to go. But in the very early game, when you don't have a lot of resources, or if you are, for some reason, going to play this armor in Season 22 of Diablo, you probably will want to use your gems to get as much intelligence possible in the beginning, and then eventually swap out as you get higher up in the Greater Rifts and you get more power to your stats. Now, again, it's the same strategy as you see. Cast Land of the Dead to freeze everything, then start casting Skeletal Mages, because since it is the blood version of it, you will be doing a lot of damage that way. Use Cannibalize to get back your Essence, and then Command Skeletons also will be commanded to different targets that will help increase the amount of cooldown. Now, for the legendary gems on this armor build, Bane of the Stricken, Bane of the Trap. You know, those are the 2 gems that are pretty much one of the go-to gems. And then you have some options. My recommendation is, because you are using Skeletal Mages and for primarily going to be zoning your enemy, which means you're going to be attacking from far distances and not getting up close and personal with them, I would recommend using a Zay's Stone of Vengeance. Now, alternatively, if you wanted to get your Land of the Dead back up a little bit faster, you could switch one of the gems for a Goak of Swiftness. However, I don't recommend that because this armor struggles in very high Greater Rifts to do a lot of damage, which is when Zay's Stone of Vengeance will come in a bit more handy to give you a little bit more bang for your buck. So I would recommend going Zay's Stone of Vengeance over Goak of Swiftness. If you feel like you really need to put cooldown, you could put 2 Flawless Royal Diamonds in your pant area, and you could do that, and that will take you pretty well up to the Greater Rift. For the weapon, obviously, you want to put a Flawless Emerald so you can get 130% increased critical hit damage. In terms of optimization for the Necromancer in this particular armor set, on your helm, you want 6.0% crit hit ratio. On your gloves, I always recommend this, but I know it takes a while in RNG to get it. I would recommend crit hit ratio 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%. If possible, also on your gloves, get a attacks +6, +7, or +8. Any other area you're going to probably want to invest in cooldown, because this is not really an AoE set. Any area where you can buff your Skeletal Mages, I recommend buffing them, because that's where your primary source of damage is going to be coming with in this build. So that's stuff to look into. So I would go really cooldown in the other areas. And the boots, 12% movement speed, definitely, so you can be a bit faster, because that 12% doesn't really seem like a lot, but believe it or not, it does help. That situation there, as you saw, I ran into an enemy and I had been spending too much blood, so I was left very vulnerable. So that's something that you have to be very, very careful, especially in the beginning of the entrance gates. This is an armor set where chances are you are not going to be getting a lot of 4-piece chance bonuses on the legendary gems, just because you're spending your life to be able to do more damage. And yeah, you are able to get back some of that life with the Command Skeletons and with the Devour Cannibalize, but as you get higher up in the Greater Rifts and the enemies take longer to kill and are dealing more damage to you, it will take longer. Keep in mind, you can use your bone armor, and you should be doing it in these intervals. I haven't really used it because I haven't really struggled in this Greater Rift as of yet, but what you want to do is, in intervals, you want to cast your bone armor. Try to keep that active, so it'll give you a little bit more defense. But most of the time, you're going to be spending so much time just casting your Blood Mages to do damage that you might not have as much opportunity to get a lot of enemies in one concentrated area. As you get higher up in the Greater Rifts, it's going to be easier to start casting those bone armors. Lower Greater Rifts, not so much, because in theory, if you follow the guide, and there will be a link in the description to this set armor build for those of you who prefer to see things on paper as opposed to seeing it visually. And if you need like a paper breakdown of it, I gladly will supply the link to this armor build. But that's basically what you are going to be wanting to do in this build. So once you start a Greater Rift, automatically start casting your Blood Mages, cast a Bone Armor when you get low on Essence and low on health, which you will, because remember, every Blood Mage is going to cost you actual life. Make sure that you cast a Devour Cannibalize so you can get life back. When you see a large area of enemies on screen, take that opportunity to activate your Bone Armor so that you can get your stacks. With this set build, you should be able to get a maximum of up to 5 to 10 stacks, depending on how high up in the Greater Rifts you are. So that will give you a little bit more defense. Try to keep yourself very far away from mobs, because you will deal more damage the farther you are away. And as I've mentioned before, if you are very close to enemies, as you're spending all these life-spending abilities to do damage, you leave yourself incredibly vulnerable, which is why this armor is considered by many Diablo players. Now, keep in mind, I say many, not all. to be F tier because the fact that you're wasting life and that leaves you extremely vulnerable on a class that is not naturally a very defensive class. People really don't like to see that. Now, if you want an S tier Necromancer build, I personally would recommend Bone Spear Necromancer. I have a video of that available in our Diablo 3 playlist. I also would recommend the Legacy of Dreams Poison Scythe build. That's another build that is very popular with people who prefer to play Necromancer, where it is not zoning and attacking from far away, but more in your face. I'm on the Rift Guardian, I casted a Land of the Dead, and then just went completely ham with Blood Mages. That's pretty much what you're going to want to do whenever you see a Rift Guardian. So you have to be very careful, because as you're going in the Greater Rift, you need to conserve at least one Land of the Dead for a Rift Guardian, because if not, you're going to run into a situation where you're going to see it's going to take you really hard time to be able to level up your gems. Now, again, I'll repeat this for people who might have missed it earlier on in this video. Legendary gems should be Bane of the Stricken, Bane of the Trap, and not a Gorak Swiftness, a Stone, or Zeo's Stone of Vengeance. Gorak Swiftness I don't necessarily recommend. Maybe if you were going to play the Blood Lance version. I am not showing the Blood Lance version of this build today. I will do that in the future sometime before the end of Season 3 of Diablo. This is a Greater Rift 65. First thing you're going to notice here is where the armor starts to fall out. As you can see, I have to spend a lot of my life to be able to do damage, but if I'm in a situation where the enemies hit a lot harder, not only am I going to have to run away from the enemy, but I have to be careful because I will die, and I will die quite a bit, especially in the beginning of the entrance gate, because I'm spending so much life and not getting a lot of life back, because you get your life back using Cannibalize, aka the Devour ability here. So that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind. It's a very squishy set. It gets very frustrating once you start getting into Torment 13 to use this set, because its shortcomings become more and more apparent. The enemies have a lot more HP. You're not able to do as much damage. You're spending a lot of life, and they're able to damage you a lot more than you can damage them. So that's pretty much why this armor is really not used. I know I'm complaining about it, and as you see in this gameplay, I'm still doing fairly well in a Greater Rift 65, which would be Torment 13 to 14 equivalent, roughly. So, you know, it does do well, but you're going to get squashed a lot, and there are better choices, obviously. This is pretty much, as we're nearing the end of Season 22 of Diablo 3, as I mentioned many times on the channel, we're going back and covering armors that we haven't covered on the channel. A lot of these armors over the next couple of days in the coming weeks are going to be armors that we have not really covered. They're pretty much considered not bottom of the barrel in terms of set builds, but they are considered the lower tier armors for it. So if you're looking to get super high up in the leaderboards, I definitely would say Trag'Oul is not going to get you there, especially for Season 22 of Diablo. Is there anything else you can do to kind of enhance this armor outside of Ancient Legendary Gem augmentations? Yes, you could, in theory, ditch the Jessup set, which I don't recommend, to go the Lost Time Trag'Oul's Corroded Fang, and then go good old Poison Scythe type of build and try to make it work in this variation. I don't recommend it. As you said before many times already, you're spending your life in order to do damage to your opponent. And as you can see, it backfires a lot in higher Greater Rifts. Poison Scythe in this build would make you doing a lot more up-close and personal battles, which, if you're already spending your life, you're not going to be able to do a whole bunch of damage to your opponent, and they're going to do more damage, and you're going to die a lot more. So that's why, again, I really don't recommend using this set, especially if you're trying to do an up-close and personal thing with it. That's not going to work. Either you're going to go Blood Mages or Blood Lance. Blood Lance will cover sometime in the near future before the end of Season 22 of Diablo. Now, something I'm going to touch on briefly as we get closer to the end of this Greater Rift. Diablo 2 Resurrected has been officially announced by Blizzard. BlizzCon was the convention last Friday, Saturday and Sunday, which confirmed that the remastered version of Diablo 2 is coming to PC and consoles. That includes the Nintendo Switch, which is the platform I played Diablo 3 on. What does that mean for content in the future for this channel? Yes, there will be Diablo 2 Resurrected videos when it comes out. I know right now the community is a little bit pessimistic for the remastered version of Diablo 2 just based on the fact that the Warcraft-free Reforged game that came out that Blizzard released was kind of a hot mess. People didn't like it. People hated it. Good reason. Diablo 2, however, is being done obviously by a different development team that is more centered and focused on Diablo, which is not Warcraft. People who make Warcraft don't make Diablo. So, same developer, different development teams, which is something that people tend to misconstrue and not pay much attention to. So, right now, based on everything that we have information-wise and what we've seen, Diablo 2 looks to be a great remaster of a true classic. A lot of people prefer Diablo 2 because of many elements, more streamlined in terms of not customization, but how itemization works. And it was a better story, and certain things worked a little bit better in elements. We will be covering Diablo 2 on the channel, Diablo 2 Resurrected, when it's officially released sometime in 2021. We don't know exactly the official release date. We will still be covering also Diablo 3 on the channel. We will be mixing it up. It might not do 2 Diablo 3 videos a week. We might split it where I do a Diablo 2 video and a Diablo 3 video. I might do more Diablo 2 content than I do Diablo 3. It depends really on which game Blizzard tends to support more. Hopefully they'll support both, but I think really they're probably going to move us over to Diablo 2. So, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. I'll be back Wednesday with the Ina set for the Monk. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you Wednesday for the next Diablo 3.